So, good morning, good evening, good afternoon. Welcome to another scene of the living world of darkness, rage across New York, wherein there's a 10 point, tromping back over towards the lake as she has had to away to do various duties, do various rites, speak to a couple spirits, that keeper of the land thing that she does. Whatever the case, though, she will be returning with food in hand and a tumbler in her other, the travel mug, as it were. And we'll be coming back around to the lake, probably taking pause and sending out a tendril to kind of test the waters mentally before she gets so close. Not poking in, not being invasive, but kind of reading whatever's on the surface to see if it is a really bad idea.
You don't get the same distinct impressions as you got the day before. You definitely don't get the impressions of like, if you come near me, I'm going to break you type of thing.
Barely contained violence.
Yes. But you do get the impression that there is a mixture of both grief. I wouldn't say grief, more pain, and definitely more. It's almost, I wouldn't say like a rumbling rage that is almost kind of smeared underneath it all. He is ready for violence, but he's not actively seeking it, if you get me.
Mm-hmm.
But as you encroach on the lake, you do see him again in the same familiar spot. You would have seen him out in the Umber doing his various things to crow spirits. He looks to be almost staring at the dried blood in his hand. It's clear he has not washed himself. There's still dust lingering in the flecks of his hair that seems to be matted and curly. Even perhaps more so now, and his eyes just seem to have a very far away stare. He's been doing wormfolk business, but he just seems so far away and very removed from everybody else.
And yeah, while he is perched there at the edge of the lake, she will just amble up without a word, not interrupting, and we'll just idly set the box down by his ankle. Take the mug, drop it there as well. Not close enough to touch, but definitely in that easy reach position because he may be able to autopilot through his work, but there's no telling whether he actually bothered to think to feed himself.
There's I would say a 2-minute silence before he eventually, he's not even aware you're there, just reaches his hand in and just takes some of the food with the hand and just puts it at the edge of his mouth and just eats.
Truth be told, this is a Bonar recept. The easiest thing to get a hold of is probably pizza.
Mm-hmm. It's very mushily yet. It's very, there's no degree of finesse. You know what I mean?
Yep, he just kind of shoves it in his face.
Yeah.
And she'll sit there next to him and just try to match his proverbial wavelength in the link and see if he'll come around or if he's just out there. So eventually, especially as he starts eating, she'll let him get through the first slice of pizza. Probably pick up the mug and actually hold it up and around until it just barely touches the tip of his fingers to see if he'll just autopilot snag it.
I mean, when you say you get through the first slice, about 3 slices are gone before you pick up the mug.
Jesus.
Just bam, bam, bam.
Wow. Well, at least he's eating. That's always good. Then yeah, she will not feel the need to interrupt.
And he eventually hungrily devours the whole thing in a matter of minutes. You know what I mean? Just, then he'll take a breath, and once you offer the drink out, his fingers don't quite snag at it, but he moves and just catches it mid, as you're lifting it, and water goes all over him, but he almost gulps the thing down quite hungrily.
The eyebrows have popped up the slightest bit, but you know what? She's not going to complain, and she's not going to interrupt because, well, he's eating and drinking, and those are both good things. She'll wait until he has drained the tumbler either down his front or into his mouth.
It's a mixture of both.
Yeah. Whichever way, when the water finally stops flowing, we'll glance aside. Ryan?
What?
How are you holding up?
There's again another lingering silence. It's quite eerie because the lake again is quite a peaceful place. So I imagine that adds to the eeriness. As he doesn't quite look at you, but rubs his face, obviously maybe cleaning some of the stains off in the water there. Again, flecks of dust seem to land on his hands, and then you can see the dry blood on his all over his hands.
Yep.
How am I doing? It's an interesting question to lead with.
It's what matters.
Doesn't know.
Of course, Ryan.
Why does it matter?
Her brow knits faintly.
The Wormfather is still alive, isn't he?
Yes, right?
Well, there you go then. Doesn't matter about anything else.
Does to me.
The shrines are gone. We're going to need to build new ones.
I'm already working on it, Ryan.
Nods idly. You see his hands tracing along the grass. Good. It's good to be productive. I suppose people are saying odd things about me.
And she's casting him a measuring side glance. Is at any point does his hand just kind of still and lay on the ground?
Nope. Seems to be constantly moving, almost making I wouldn't say spiral patterns, but making that kind of tri-spiral pattern in the grass essentially with his thumbs.
Is he doing it with both hands?
Yeah. Starts with one, then moves to two.
What would it matter?
I'm just curious to see which one would have the gall to come and say something.
None of them.
Precisely.
You should know it by now, right?
Yeah, I should. Shouldn't I?
Not an ounce of nerve in the lot.
Besides, it's my fault anyway. I should have been more prepared as Wormful.
Her brow knits sharply. Shoots him a glance.
Stares absent-mindedly out of the lake. He hasn't looked at you at all. And he sounds so very far away. I wouldn't say depressed, no. No, you definitely don't get an impression if you push into the link. But just seems very far away.
She will make the gesture as much mentally as physically. In fact, perhaps leading a little bit mentally. Because they've done the equivalent of essentially touching minds, practically holding hands numerous times. And she will do that as she reaches out and finally looks to just catch up his hand. Not both, but the nearest of the two. She doesn't care about the blood. She doesn't care about the soot.
Which side are you on? You on his right or left side?
Um, I'll just roll for it. I don't.
No, it's just what you'll see if you're on which side. That's all.
I mean, I'm going to assume on his right.
Okay, if you're on the perfect. On the right side, when you reach to catch up his hand, as you notice he's been rolling and rolling, you do upturn, right?
Mm-hmm.
And in the corner of his hand, you do see one of the burnt pictures that Aiden always used to keep in his clothes. And you see that face. Probably just a grim outline of it, because probably some of it was burned when they flung out that window. So you would probably see the flecks of Darcy's face, and most of the picture is burned away. But it's in the corner of his hand. You'd barely even see it if you hadn't have just taken up his hand.
She will very carefully not disturb it. But at this point, she's kind of committed to taking hold of the hand, and will still do so. She just will be very careful not to jostle the picture.
So Wormful, you're expected to know these and prepare these things. It's my fault.
How could you have known, Raya?
I should have anticipated something like this would happen. I got careless.
Raya, we made a point of keeping that place secret.
Obviously not secret enough. And we had no defenses. I should have anticipated that.
If I had thought that it would be so easy for someone to find it, Raya, I would have done more. And the only kind of defenses we could have put in place would have been my doing anyways. So if anyone is at fault, it would be me.
Has there been any word from Simon?
He's come nowhere near me.
Has there been any word of his ideals of action?
No, Raya. Still nothing. If he's done anything it didn't bear talking about.
He just lets out a small breath and stares out at the lake. I bought that house when I was still a Cleith. Bought that house because I wanted a way for myself to get away from all this, just so I could spend time with her.
I'm sorry, Raya.
You know, I kept all her clothes and all her pictures and all her things in the one room. I used to sleep there, so I could still smell her in that room.
Her lips kind of roll in faintly. And she'll finally release the hand, knowing full well the picture is there, not wanting to stop him from looking at it.
And it wasn't a nice smell. Funny thing. It smelled like death and sadness. But it was her smell, right at the end. And I let it burn. I could have told you to stay and help me. There's a lot of part of me that did wanna. But I'm the Wormful and you're the keeper of the land. I had to make a sacrifice.
You are still a man who has suffered a loss. I am still your family and would have done anything for you if you'd asked.
It's part of being a leader at 10 point. You have to know when is the right time to ask a sacrifice of someone.
Of course, right.
Now part of me thinks, just because I can't see her picture, I'll never know what she looks like again. Because I can't smell her, I'll never be able to remember what it feels like.
Is he actually wearing the necklace she made him?
Oh yeah. Well, he always wears it.
I mean, she kind of glances at it in her brown mitts for a second, but looks back up, just listening quietly.
While I may have fleeting images that I can look at in private. Perhaps I was too lost in past memories.
Being remembered is the best thing that most of us can hope for, right? So remember her. However you remember. It's not about pictures. It's not about smells.
Oh. Rolling that willpower. Actually, first I gotta roll this. Spending the willpower.
Oh, Jesus
It is
Christ.
It's a good thing I did. It's a good thing I did, Katie.
Oh, God.
And I'll roll willpower just to see, will he lash out? Yeah. All right. So when you say it's not about pictures, it's not about this, it's that, Katie, you see it. There's a flare in his eyes. Like his eyes pop open. They have been kind of, not, I wouldn't say half closed, but kind of absent-mindedly staring out. And his eyes just shoot the fuck open, you know? As you even feel, you're holding his hand, right?
She had let go. She had only just let go. She's still, like, in touch through the link, but she let go of his hand as he was talking about how he'd lost all the other photos because she didn't want to keep him from glancing at that one again by holding the hand still.
The hand around the photo closes sharply. You know what I mean? As his knuckles go white. And I'm going to make a quick roll because he's going to move. He'll spend a rage as well.
Yep.
7. Forgot it's 7. Let's grapple. You going to try resist a 4 success grapple?
I mean, she's sitting right next to him. No, he's got her. He's got her dead to rights.
She's sitting. That's like 5. That's 7 successes.
Yeah, no, he fucking latches on. She wasn't.
She
was not ready for that immediate turnaround.
It's scary how fast he is. Like 10 point, you feel just a hand like just onto the floor. And he moves like a blur. And he's basically up and over you. And what would you know?
How is he grappling her?
By the throat and basically pushing his elbow down on... Basically, he has his knee in her stomach, hand on the throat, and just basically forcing her into the ground like by his sheer weight.
I mean, he can see her jaw has clenched shut. She is not fighting back. If anything, her eyes have shifted, like, trying to avoid looking at him, trying to look just up and focus on trying to get some air.
What would you know? Tell me, 10 Point, apart from Chad's mother, how many people have you lost and how many people have died in your arms? How many? Do you feel them? You feel their breath escaping one last time against your chest? You see them crying or smiling? What do you know? What do you know about trying to remember? And I will make a strength brawl roll.
Yeah, the only answer she has for him, admittedly, like, she's pointedly trying not to meet his eyes because in the mood he's in, it'd be taken as a challenge. And her eyes have welled up somewhat, but she's just given the tiniest, most minuscule little shakes of head each time he digs at, for an answer. Jaw still clenched.
Took me 3 bashing as he literally just pushes down like with such force. He's just fucking like he presses his elbow right at the throat and pushes in with his knee, essentially.
She only takes one. And
But
there's a brief kind of strangled breath, like the involuntary rasping. It doesn't even require like a vocal component. As he like catches her windpipe just a little too shallow.
Answer me. What would you know? What do you know? It's all very well to sit here and feign that you know how I feel when you don't know a fucking thing.
Is he letting up enough for her to speak?
Oh, yeah. You push his elbow away, even though there's like huge, probably bruises that's slowly starting to knit back together.
Yep. It blossoms, it blooms, and almost immediately, like just as quickly, it fades away to nothing. And she even does her best to turn her head to the side and essentially baring throat. Nothing, Raya.
Then how do you know what it's like?
Never said I did, Raya.
And how can you ever tell me what to do and how to feel about it? How to remember?
I only know what the nation has taught me, Raya.
Oh. Oh, no. Oh, you are really lucky.
Mm-hmm.
1, 2, so 3. It's 2 successes. Another 2 is the fist flies down, almost in just blinding rage. Because, rage 5.
How much is it?
2. Just 2.
Yep. Taken.
He'll spend a rage point to get that rage away, and he just keeps swinging before he'll start saying something.
Yep. When the swinging starts, she'll finally kind of thrash to try to get her arms up to cover her head.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Take away 2. That's 4. 1, 2, 3. That's only 1. No, that's actually not. That's 2. 2. Soaked. He just flails around, like it's probably the angle he's at that he can't really do damage since he has you pinned so thoroughly.
Yep. And to be fair, with that kind of close quarters and the fact that he's at a bad angle, and let's face it, she was laying pretty passively initially, but when he starts swinging, her arms manage to like slip up between them and kind of foul up his movement as she like arcs them up and over her head.
The nation, eh? What does the nation know about loss? About a personal loss, huh? What does a war tell you when the next guru replaces another? What does that The nation doesn't care about loss. The nation cares about a war that it needs to win. The nation doesn't have time to remember. Because it won't remember. It can't. Because if it stops, then the worm is ready to win. So what would the nation, and he brings down the infamous. She's prone as well, fuck. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Take away 2, that's 4 again.
Did he pick up the shillelagh?
Yep.
Oh dear.
1, 2, 3, 4.
2 of them soaked.
So, while not bringing the shillelagh over an overarching swing, he picks it up and kind of jabs it into her ribs, essentially.
It gets a startled yelp because, let's face it, he was probably aiming for her head before out of blind anger. So she wasn't prepared to guard the ribs. She gets a good jab.
And
not a popping noise, but it's definitely enough to kind of rock her body.
And I'm going to roll strength ball again, except I'm using the shillelagh as a grapple point. So I'm assuming that would be strength melee, wouldn't it?
Sure, why not? Fuck it.
Fuck it.
Do the thing.
Bill. 1, 2, 3, 4.
Did you spend rage on this?
Yes.
Okay. And what's he doing?
He's basically putting the shillelagh like he's taking the shillelagh, turning to the side, so it forms like a I can't fucking think
like in a bar.
Yeah, in a bar. Thank you. It was like and he kind of pushes it down against 10 points through.
And that's what 1, 2,
1, 2, 4.
Oh, in a grapple? Yeah.
Yeah. 4.
Yeah, she settles down real fast again. Because that thing is a lot more solid than his arm is.
I'll apply some damage. Oh, I forgot to roll. I'll apply some damage as well. I forgot.
Yep.
2 extra dice for Darcy.
Apply that damage.
It's only 1.
That still puts her up to 3. So yeah, I mean, there's at least briefly a really nasty kind of throttling noise before she starts trying to work her hands up under it.
What 10 point can tell is it is nowhere near the finesse that Aiden usually displays. You know what I mean? Aiden is fast and very controlled, and his attacks are usually quite deadly. But this is more flailing. It's not, I wouldn't say it's disorganized, but it's more trying to manage how he feels, but also concentrate on what he needs to do. It's almost like he can't balance the two like he normally can. Perhaps this is why the normal process is so much more clumsier than it normally would be. And he kind of presses down and looks at her. What do you know about anything, 10 point, that I feel?
And considering that he's pressing down as he does it, even with her hands up under it to try to preserve enough room to keep her breathing, there's still the mental stranglehold going on. And he'll feel the kind of the pain emotionally that he's provoking by essentially rubbing her nose in it. Just kind of that hurt, not horribly wounded, not anything like that. Just that sharp kind of hurt feeling will echo in the back of his head.
Let me just roll something real quick.
Do it.
Ooh. Oh, Jesus. Okay.
Don't know what it was, but I'm worried.
I rolled willpower difficulty 8 because of his connection to 10 point that he would stop, if you get me.
Mm-hmm.
And look how much they got. Okay. So that's 3 successes. So he does feel the sting from 10 point. He does feel it. You can see it. He almost it looks like you just literally emotionally knifed him right in the gut. But he seems to just crack his neck. It's not nice to hear that, is it?
There's a very minute head shake. She's still trying to wrestle with the shillelagh to give herself a little more breathing space.
It's not nice to hear someone tell you how you should feel, isn't it?
And God, let's see how butthurt is 10 point right now.
Go on, Katie, be butthurt.
Let's roll willpower to see if she's butthurt enough to say regrettable things.
Go on, do it, Katie. Do it. Auto fail if you want. Do it.
I don't feel like that'd go well for anybody.
Do it, Katie. Ugh.
I will first wait. Did I spend yesterday?
Yeah, I think you did.
Did I?
Yeah, you did.
I did. Yeah, I did. I did spend. I spent once.
Yeah.
So
wow,
that is some hella willpower. So she doesn't say the thing, but I will still roll a really, really bad pool to sublimate that. And see if she can. Oh, wait. That is a social roll. So +1 diff. Nope!
So what does she look like?
There is, of all fucking things, like probably the last thing you'd expect, kind of a flash of anger, and it's not harsh expression-wise. It crosses her features, just a kind of, you know, it looks like kind of a peeved look, but he's got kind of the lock going on mentally, so he definitely feels it more than he even sees it. Just a flush of anger over something.
You know what? In response, it's going to be really interesting. He's going to push down on the shillelagh. Like, re-strengthening the grapple, essentially, is what he's doing. As he pushes down, gets right in her face. Say it. Go on. As he, like, brings it down quite aggressively, getting right, like, nose to nose.
It is far less of a success. So I am not in a good position, but let's do a contested roll to see how good a show she makes of trying to get the hell out of that.
Yeah, he got 3.
She at least makes a good show of it. Yeah, she comes close. She finally, like, in response to that, like, goes and, like, weasels up a leg between them and basically tries to use a combined force. Now, unfortunately, her hands are tied up under the shillelagh, trying to make sure that she doesn't get choked out, but she, like, wreathes the leg up between them and tries to force him back and off of her. Doesn't quite get enough force to do it, but she makes a struggle of it, taking on a more stiff expression as she does so. Very driven all of a sudden.
He just stares at her, doesn't smile, doesn't. You can just see the grim expression on his face. He doesn't react in any way like, oh, 10 point, fall back. No, he just seems to just stare at her like, you know, waiting for her to say something.
And yeah, she tries to throw him off. She doesn't manage to do that, but hopefully she at least loosens the hold enough, trying to kind of wrangle the shillelagh off of her throat, or at least down onto her breastbone or something, where it's not cutting off her airflow.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, no, I could say that with 2 successes to 3, I'd say you get a decent like gap, so you can actually, it's not too much down on it.
She's still pinned down, just not by the throat at the moment.
Mm-hmm.
It must be hard being loved.
Stare.
And she will do something kind of impulsive and will revert to breed and try to very calmly just push him off of her.
I mean, you go into Crinus, you do get him off quite easily.
She doesn't do anything aggressive. She just reverts to breed and, yeah, just plants a palm on his chest and pushes him off. It must be so hard having people that love you back. I have watched just as many people die here as you have.
I see. Well, forgive me, 10 Point. Forgive me for ever caring, then.
You asked this of me.
Of course I did. And that's what you think.
I know it hurts. I'm in there with you. I feel it. And I'm sorry. But don't ask me what I know about losing people I love when I'm not allowed to have any.
I see. Well then, forgive me, 10 Point. I didn't realize you... Never mind.
And she, fairly hastily, since he's not looking like he's about to leap back on her, and she feels that she has at least made the point, takes a moment, and it does take her an extra moment compared to the norm because she's catching her breath and calming down, and as she sighs, meshes back down into Hamid.
He tosses Darcy quite violently at the lake. Like it thunks into the side of it. Like not going into the lake all the way, just kind of thunks along the lake edge.
And her jaw just kind of clenches at the gesture.
There you go then. You're not allowed to love. I see. Well, then I won't bother.
He gets a, I will do this piteous roll again because I need to. At least she keeps her face fairly straight, fairly stiff. But he can feel it's not the sharp sting of like, well, that hurt, but it's no big deal, like paper cut style, like what happened before. But he can feel like there's a deep kind of hurt.
Because
I'm sure he's echoing the same.
You walk up and get into her face. I got you out of there first before I saved all her things. I got you first. I even made sure you didn't go back in. But you're not allowed to love, are you?
Her face just drops. Well, he's like right there in her face. It just drops until she's looking down.
And that's fine. I guess neither am I. It's all very well to put down someone for loving people. But when they die on you all the time, every time, no matter how hard you try, I guess part of you wishes you were never able to love. Part of you is envious that they can't be allowed to love because part of you doesn't want to love. I guess that's a kinder thing I feel. But hey, what would I know? To you, I'm just a Hamid that's allowed to have
Startles
luxuries.
a sharp upwards glance from her.
Oh, she can see it on his face. He's blatantly hurt. You know what I mean? Like, she can feel it throughout the link. You know?
Again, it's the emotional equivalent of like a slap across the face.
Oh, yeah.
Essentially, yeah.
Yeah, pretty much. Because you're not just a menace to me. At least I never thought that. But hey, what would I know?
I know.
Suppose Jason and all these people and all these look down on me. On everything that I am. Is that nation and this and family. And I've lost every bit of family I've had till there's only one person left.
I still have the only thing I care about.
But it's fine. He just slaps her hand away and starts to walk off into the trees. He doesn't move fast or anything. He kind of just walks very slowly.
And she kind of balks. She maybe even lifting a hand, having it slapped away. She just kind of pulls her legs and wraps her arms around them.
She's not going to chase after him.
Probably not for the first few steps, but there'll be a moment of just kind of panic. She tends to freeze up in moments of real trial. So she does. For a couple long moments, she just kind of freezes and glances after him and then stares for a long minute at the shillelagh. And then stubbornly kind of finally starts pulling herself off the ground. Takes those couple steps towards the edge of the water and retrieves it. And turns to follow with a kind of not a run, but definitely a quick and purposeful stride.
I mean, she'll find him near the edge of one of the trees. He just seems to be walking very slowly and he almost just leans up against it.
And she'll catch up. And when she does, she'll come around and she will not get in front of him, not be small and quiet, but will instead reach out as soon as she gets into range, taking a hold of his hand and slapping the shillelagh into it.
What? Told me to beat you now?
You don't get to throw away family.
I never said you weren't allowed to love, 10 Point.
No. Everyone else did.
Yeah, well. Suppose I'm just like everybody else then.
No. If you were? She kind of pauses and catches herself up and gives her head a shake. You're not. And I'm sorry. And I feel your pain, Rhea. But I can't know it myself. And I can only tell you what I know. I wasn't trying to hurt you.
Yeah, well, you did a plenty good job on that.
You didn't exactly spare me in return.
Yeah. It's fine.
Again, her head just slightly shakes. It's not. But I won't know how you feel until the day you're gone. And I know now I won't be as strong as you are.
You kind of slump against the tree and kind of slide down. I can't cry at that point.
You can.
Not here. And the one place I could is gone. I can't cry in front of all of you. I can't do it.
We will find somewhere else.
It doesn't matter anymore.
And she slowly kind of sinks down into more of a crouch. And will reach out if he lets her, putting first one hand, like, against his cheek, stroking around it to cup it, and then bringing up the other one to do the same.
Let's see. This is diff 9. Jesus. Okay, he's barely keeping it in. His hands start to shake.
Like in anger? Or in
No,
grief?
Grief. It's a bit of both, actually. As he buries his head down hard. Like, he doesn't attack him, but no. God, no. The fact that she touches him very gently along the arm, he just puts his head down at his knees and doesn't look at her, but she can just see his body starting to shake slowly.
And she'll finally kind of bow forward. And she was going for the cheeks, but whatever works. She will put the arms around him as best she can, like cupping the back of his head with a hand. And even just set her brow against the top of his head. Let me cry for you.
I'm gonna kill them all at that point.
I know you will. Your last one. And the one with the scar on his back, he lives the longest.
I'm gonna kill them all. Their families. Their friends. Anyone they ever loved. Anyone they ever touched. With any sort of affection. I'm gonna kill them all. Every kinfolk. belongs to those spirals. Every single one of them are gonna die.
And she finally gets settled down to where she's just kind of wrapped around him, but resting kind of cheek to cheek. I'll help you find them. Every single one.
And I'm gonna drag that fucker right in front of Simon's face. I'm gonna cut his throat. And I'm gonna let him bleed. I'm gonna kill them all. And yeah, she sees tears coming down his face then. If she's, I imagine she's like up close and personal, so like
She absolutely is.
She'll see the tears coming down his face. And she has seen Aiden's dreams before. Albeit the hilarious ones aside, she has seen that same exact phrasing when he was cradling his father's corpse, essentially.
If I have to take him by the hands and shove it out into the fountain of blood, I will. You've lost so much, Raya, but it will be avenged.
I'm gonna kill them all. He says, just numbly, not staring at 10 Point, just staring at the ground. Again, tears probably hit her clothes. As yeah, she gets probably, I mean, the link is not exactly hidden. It is awash, like a tsunami of sadness, but underneath all that is that burning desire for vengeance. Like it probably is the most unnerving thing apart from the wash of sadness. That is just there, burning like a dark pit in his stomach.
Oh, she's locked into him and completely open to it. She's essentially just kind of trying to weather the emotional storm. Probably even sympathetically loosing some tears of her own, but is wrapped around him to the point where no passerby could see the tears on his cheeks. Every single one, Raya. Slowly. As slow as you want.
His head will just bow and nestle against hers. Very childlike, very innocent. The powerful figure of Aiden Lynch now it's kind of scarily vulnerable as he just nestles his head against her cheeks and just almost just clings to her, essentially. Doesn't say anything, doesn't speak, he just you get the impression that you are the closest thing to comfort he has left, so he just clings desperately.
She shifts her weight a little bit, shifts her position, but makes herself as available for him to wrap around as possible. Wraps him up in her arms, and even goes so far as to tuck her chin over him. Anything you want, Raya.
Don't leave.
Never leave you, Raya. Not while there's any breath in my body.
And again, the desperation in his voice when he keeps repeating it, apart from I'm going to kill them all, it's heartbreaking, you know?
And this, at least, she can earnestly respond to. And as she wraps him up and tucks her chin over him and holds him tightly and closely, she vows with this intense, ringing sincerity that echoes in the link, even as she's, awash in these waves and waves of sorrow and that undertow of vengeful rage. There is just this one, like, beaming, pulsing sense of very real, very, very real sincerity. As she promises over and over that she will never, ever, never leave him.
Yeah, and he just doesn't say anything after that, and he just clings to her in the silence of the lake.
Yep, off in the trees, off out of sight. The two of them will just be curled up at the base of one of the trees. And it'll eventually mellow a little bit from those promises to humming, to quietly singing in Gaelic, and just doing everything that she can think of as she strokes his hair to soothe him. And I suppose that is probably as good a place as any to close the scene.
Yes.
So thank you, players, for playing. Thank you, watchers, for watching. We will see you next time in the living world of darkness. Rage across New York.